since I'm the moderating that as well. I want to introduce Lori Lowenthal Marcus. Lori Lowenthal Marcus is a lawyer and a journalist. Right? People can come in and out as they can. She serves on the board of Ariel University. She's currently a partner in a litigation firm. She is the legal director and a litigator with the Deborah Project, a nonprofit law firm that represents those who have been discriminated against in educational settings. She is truly one of the heroines of the battle against anti-Semitism in America today. Lori Lowenthal Marcus. Lori, okay, a little music. Thank you. A lot of people are aware of the situation on college campuses. That gets most of the attention when we talk about anti-Semitism, where a surge of anti-Semitism has made itself felt. But the problem is much more widespread than that. We're often told that critical race theory and other woke leftist doctrines don't impact American education outside of a small niche of institutions. How has all of this hate against Jews driven by woke ideologies made itself felt in K-12 schools? How much of a factor is it?
It's a huge factor, and in fact, what I often tell people is the unrest, the anti-Semitism, the riots and protests on college campuses has very good visuals, so people see what's happening there. But what doesn't have good visuals, but is at least as important, is the indoctrination of K through 12. That's pre-K. Before you're 5 years old, in some schools already, you are learning with coloring books that have the ABCs that include P is for Palestine and J is for jihad. And this is what young children, very young children, are learning from the person in the front of the room. And when you're at that age, the person in the front of the room is the authority. And you imbibe that information, and you grow up knowing that the Jews and the Jewish state are evil.
What are the range of the sorts of dilemmas that Jewish kids and Jewish parents are facing today? And can you give us some of the really egregious examples that I know that you work with every day in trying to help Jewish families? What are they facing? And again, this is not at Columbia and Harvard. This is in schools, in elementary schools, high schools. What are these kids facing?
Well, let's first talk about what they don't have. What they don't have, perhaps increasingly are beginning to have, is a good support system. As the minister was talking before and others have said previously in this conference, American Jews, for the most part, really lack information about Jewish history and the Jewish state. So they don't have the support system that they should have. And when the kids go to school and learn about a country called Palestine that's bordered by Egypt and Jordan and Syria and Lebanon, and that's what they're told, and this is an experience I had with one of our clients, they are told in the quiz, that's how you have to fill it in. If you get it wrong by the teacher's standards, then you get marked down, you can fail. So it's forced speech about the erasure of the Jewish state. That's one example, the worst example I have experienced thus far, and I'm a very tough person. This moved me to tears, and it was a student, an Israeli-American student, who started middle school, 6th grade, in 2023. And kids started picking on him right away. I don't know why. Maybe because of his accent. But after October 7th, things were ratcheted up, and he was picked on and bullied, and it became physical aggressions against this 12-year-old boy. Then students started standing up in the auditorium at lunchtime. Everyone hates the Jews, and the Jews are baby killers. And nothing really happened. There were lots of meetings, Meetings are meaningless if there's no action, if there's no enforcement. And don't tell me, you administrators, that you have done so much for the Jewish families. You meet with them, at least 4 times in the last month. No, you have to have action. Finally,
this is taking place in a prosperous suburb.
This is in a prosperous suburb of Philadelphia. And finally, this 12-year-old boy was surrounded and told to get on his knees and apologize for being a Jew. Yeah. This is 2024, it was last spring, in America. And the school district did nothing. They had meetings, which is nothing. And the Federation was called in, the Jewish Federation of Greater Philadelphia, called in to help the family during the year. Finally, the person at the Federation called me, and she said, I can't help this family. They need someone like you, Lori. So I came in, and the Deborah Project, we sent a very strong letter which made it clear we were going to share this information with the media, all the things that they had not done, the school district. And what we did, we ended up with a very good result for this family, which was in deep crisis. This entire Israeli family was traumatized. Our ultimate result was that this public school district, in other words, taxpayer money, is being used to pay for this boy's 7th through 12th grade high school years, and that of his 2 older sisters at a Jewish day school. Okay? So that's costing them money. But they wouldn't change their policies. And I said, you have to change your policies. You failed. You didn't do the right thing. No, we should be satisfied with the money. I said, fine, don't change the policies, but I'm going to be back here next year with the next Jewish family. You have failed. And that's what is happening in the United States. The Jewish state deserves to have its rights recognized on the global stage, and the Jewish people, the individuals in the diaspora, need to have their civil rights recognized.
What's the remedy for this? Beyond just individual cases and you're going in and pushing school districts, has the organized Jewish world responded adequately to this challenge? And more to the point, for years, American Jewish organizations have just been complaining to the Department of Education, asking it, to enforce Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, but no action. What do you think needs to be done, both by the organized Jewish world and by the federal government?
Well, one thing that we know for sure is having the meetings is not sufficient. Most of the organized established Jewish world loves to have meetings with leadership of corporations and school districts and things like that. That doesn't work. Going to the Department of Education feels like a huge step to take. The truth is, there is almost no enforcement mechanism. What happens is a government agency, the Department of Education, takes over the case, and that agency, which is the government, acts as the fact finder and the judge, and they get to offer a settlement and come to a settlement without even the approval of the plaintiffs. And what they're trying to do is make both sides a little bit unhappy, which means both sides get something. But that's, this is such an exaggeration, it's funny, but as I always say, okay, let's treat Hitler and Barbie the same way.
Yeah. So what needs to be done? What is it? Do we have to go to the courts?
We have to go to court. We have to go to court. The Deborah Project only goes to court. We have to have judicial orders with enforcement mechanisms, but we will lose some of those cases, and we have to keep going. The NAACP lost for years before they were able to construct a legal system that recognizes the civil rights of minorities, and Jews have to do the same thing.
And do we need the federal government to punish those schools as the Department of Education never did, on one foot?
Oh, yes, we do.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lori. And thank you to all for coming.